Hey everyone, this is Bob from SuperGameCo. I'm going to show you how to finish building my mini arcade, the SuperGameCo mini arcade. If you haven't already checked out my other video on how to assemble the actual cabinet, check it out first. You're going to need to have the cabinet assembled before you continue. So I'll start by showing you the tools you're going to need to complete the assembly. You're going to need a wire cutter, also a crimper / wire stripper, Phillips head and flathead screwdrivers, and a soldering iron. Okay, now I'm going to show you the components you're going to need. Everything you see here is included in the level 2 flat kit. So first you'll need 6 arcade buttons, a player 1 start button, an insert coin button with micro switch, 7 micro switches, an escape and menu button, the Sanwa arcade joystick, 2 speakers with speaker wire, a mini amplifier, a 20cm 3.5mm audio cable, a 30cm HDMI cable, a 9-inch LCD display with control boards and flex cable, a DC splitter cable, a micro USB cable, a 5V 3A DC power adapter, a DC socket, 28 crimp connectors, a short length double jumper cable and a short length triple jumper cable, 2 medium length double jumper cables and 1 medium length triple jumper cable, 2 long double jumper cables, a bunch of orange wire cable which will be used for grounding all the buttons in the arcade stick, a single jumper cable for connecting the ground wire to the Raspberry Pi, 8 long nuts and bolts with the flat head, 12 short nuts and bolts with a flat head, 14 short nuts and bolts with a rounded head, 4 spring washers, 4 standard washers, a Raspberry Pi 2, 2 magnetic latches, some small red cable ties, and a 16 gig micro SD card. So I like to start by getting all the buttons and the joystick into the control panel. So the control panel comes in 2 pieces. That's the top piece and the lower piece. Just match up the holes, make sure these little cutouts are towards the rounded edge of the panel. Then get your buttons in. I like to go red, blue, yellow. You can mix and match if you prefer. Hold them there, turn it over so they don't fall out, and you want to make sure they're all facing that way. That's because the micro switch comes out this way and the connectors will go towards the back of the machine, the arcade machine. So get them like that, screw them all in. Buttons are screwed in. Now get the joystick, take off the ball, just unscrews the little dust cover. So it doesn't really matter which way it goes, as long as the holes match up, so it can go either that way or around the other way. Not important at this stage. And you want to get your long screws with a flat head with the washers, both the spring washer and the standard washer. So you should have 4 bolts, 4 nuts, 8 washers. So get all the bolts in. Then you want to put a standard washer on and the spring washer. Do that for all 4. And put the nuts on. Okay, you want to make sure that it's lined up on these 2 edges so that it's straight. Okay, hold it in place. Grab your Phillips head screwdriver. Just tighten them up. That's it, there's the control panel done. So you can put the dust cover and the ball on now if you want, or you can put it on later. Doesn't really matter. Gives you an idea of what it's going to be like. Now we turn it over, we can put on the micro switches. So they go like so. Bottom hole in first. You push it in, you put the other hole in. So do those 6. So for this next bit, we're going to do the wiring up of the buttons and the joystick. So what you need to do is get all your jumper wires except for the single one, so all the double and triple ones, and you just want to cut the ends off, so right up to the little jumper bit on one end. Cut them all off. You don't need the jumper bits, they can go in the bin. And then you just want to strip those ends. Like so. Leave a good 20 mil stripped. I'm just going to do one. I'll show you one and then I'll do the rest off camera. So just twist them up. By the way, these aren't color coded in any way, they're just random colors. So once they're all twisted up nicely, you want to then fold it in half. Then in half again. So it's like so. And we take one of the crimp connectors, get it in there, and basically just crimp it on. I like to do it in 2 spots. Make sure it's nice and firm in there, it's not coming out. And do the same on all of these wires. So next you want to prepare the ground wires. So you need to crimp them all together, they just piggyback off each other. The end result will look something like that. There are 2 different lengths. There are 6 100mm lengths and there are 5 160mm lengths. What I'll do is I'll put up a diagram of the order of those lengths, and I'll show you how to do a couple and you can finish the rest off yourselves. So the end gets crimped. The first length is a 100mm length. Just crimp it the same way you did the other cables, the other wires. Right, then the second length is 160mm. So you just join those 2 together, fold them over, then you crimp the 2 together in the one crimp connector. So that's the start of it. And like I said, the end result will be like that. The other end is the single jumper wire. That's the bit that goes into the Raspberry Pi ground connector. Okay, next we'll be installing the display. I like to lie the cabinet down on its side and just prop it up a little bit with a Raspberry Pi box, just so the nuts don't fall out as you're doing it. So we start by taking the display, so it goes this way. You can just rest it in there. Then you'll need these brackets here. So these parts come in an upper and lower, so you can tell them apart by the little U and L that's engraved on them. So upper obviously goes in the upper part, and the U and L engravings go towards the front. So let's just leave them there. And I'm going to put the bolts through. Make sure this flex cable here comes through there, not under the bracket. Both of them actually. So now that those brackets are in, we can push them all the way in and get the display to rest on them. Like that. And this cable here, which powers the display, should come through in between the display and the bracket. Okay, there we have it. And next you want to put these two on. So you'll notice that the upper bolts are slightly more towards the outside of the cabinet than the lower bolts. So this bracket should match that. So the upper hole is a bit up towards the outer part of the cabinet. So put both of them on. And then you want to take this control board panel and you want to screw the display board on there. So you take the rounded head short screws . You just screw them in. You'll find it's a pretty tight fit. You won't really need to put nuts on. Just put a couple of nuts on. Only the bottom two really fit the top part of the board. There are things in the way, so you can't really put nuts on. So that should be fine. Then we take This flex cable, doesn't matter which way it goes, but these pins here that are exposed have to face outwards. So you push it in, then you push these two little black things up to lock it in. Then this small board goes on the other end. Make sure this black bit is up so it fits in. Then you push it in to secure it. And then you can put the board on. This is probably the trickiest part of the build. Get a bit finicky. Get your screwdriver around the other end and tighten them up. So that's on. Now you want to put this flex cable in. Put the cabinet up right now. If we turn it around, we'll see the display's in, looking good. So this piece here, I've got a bit of Captain tape on it that you'd want to take off because there are no mounting holes on here. So you just use the Captain tape to secure it onto the board. And finally, you just want to plug this into there, make sure it's the right way around. And that's the display in. Next, we're going to put the rest of the buttons into the cabinet. So around the front here, we'll take the Play 1 start button, put that in. Then the micro switch. And then the insert coin button. So what you have to do here is this micro switch, which is built in, you just twist it anti-clockwise, it'll click, and then it comes out. Install that. Then you can put the micro switch back in. And we'll put in the menu and escape buttons as well. They've got washers, but if you just remove the washer because it won't fit with the washer. And the red one goes to the right. Turn it around. that in there, and the green one. Okay, now we can wire up the control panel. So I'm going to turn the cabinet around again. Okay, you want to start with the top right connector on the joystick. Make sure the rounded edge is towards the bottom, and you want to leave 2 connectors and the jumper pin off the end, and you connect to the outermost connector there and just work your way around. And move on to the buttons. And that's the ground wires on, and then you want to take your other wires that you prepared earlier with the crimp connectors on the end. So let's start with the 2 short. Should have 2 short wires here, 1 triple, 1 double. The triple will go on these 3 buttons here, and it goes onto the second pin, the middle connector, which is the one right below the earth or the ground. The other short one is for the top 2 on the joystick. Then get 2 medium length wires, the triple and the double. The triple goes on the bottom buttons. And the double goes on the other 2 joystick connectors. Okay, then we take the double medium length wire, connect it to the 1 player start, and insert coin buttons. Just leave it hanging out the back. Now we can take our control panel, tuck all the wires in, and I'm going to take the end of the ground wire and connect the 1 player start and insert coin buttons, connect it to the ground connectors. Okay. You might have to bend a couple of these on the side here just so that they fit. There we are. Oh, I've left this front plate on purpose just to make it a bit easier. I'll glue that on later on. Here we are. So that's control panel. So now we're going to turn it around to the back. You'll see all the jumper connectors hanging out the back there. That's what we want. So now if you like, you can connect up the menu and escape buttons. So you'll need the long the 2 double long wires. Just plug them in, doesn't matter where they go on each button. Now I like to put a bit of solder here. They're not too bad, they'll probably stay, but I like to put just a bit of solder in each of those connectors up there just to hold them on, because the connectors on these buttons are a bit small. Now we can connect the speakers, so we need the speaker bracket and obviously the 2 speakers. So they're pretty simple to screw in. You need 8 short round head bolts and nuts to screw the nut through the front. And fasten it there. Okay, I've only put 2 in. They should hold on just fine for now. Then we need the mini amp. So that screws on around that way, like so. That should be fine, and I've pre-soldered these onto here. You'll have to do that yourself. Make sure you get the positive and negative right. So I've put the negative on the wire with the black stripe on it. So make sure you connect them up appropriately. That's left speaker, so that'll go in left negative. Same with the right speaker. Now on this mini amp you want to make sure there are 2 very small switches here. You just want to make sure they're both down, so that's off, or you won't get any sound out of there. Alright, so you can pretty much put this in for now. Actually, you need the 2 brackets on the side, so we'll do those. For those you need 4 short nuts and bolts with the flat head. So these go here like that. Other side. Okay, then you can slip the speaker bracket in. There it is. So now I'm going to put the Raspberry Pi in. Just line it up with the holes. Obviously the ports are towards the back of the machine. And a screw in there. Grab your Phillips head. And bring it off the edge of the bench here. Okay, that'll do for now. And then you can begin plugging in all your buttons in the joystick. So if you look on my website, you'll find the guide for the pins. So it tells you which pin is which. So obviously the ground will go on the ground pin. With the joystick, you just have to have a play around and see what. So if you push up, it's the bottom, it's one of the bottom micro switches. So you just have to find out which is which. Make sure you plug them in accordingly. So I've got my wires all plugged into the pins there. Double check them, make sure you got the right ones. Doesn't matter if you get them wrong, you can always change them later on. So next we're going to just move this back a bit. We need the DC splitter and the micro USB cable, and also the DC socket. So we need to cut the DC splitter end, the female end off, leave the two male ends, and we need to strip that. Revealing a red and black cable inside. And then we need to cut the micro USB cable. I like to leave a good 200mm or so. Strip that. There are 4 cables in here. All you need are the red and black for the power. So you can cut off the green and the white. And you're left with the red and black. So strip them. Oh, they're a bit small, so I'll just use my teeth for those. Okay, then strip the DC splitter red and black. Then join red with black. Cut them down a bit. Then you want the DC socket. And you basically want to just solder them on. I'll show you one I've already done here. Positive to the center ring, negative to the outer one. So now we'll connect the magnetic latches. You just need 2 of the short bolts with the flat heads. They just go like that. Tighten them up with your Phillips head. Now you'll need to adjust them. You can adjust them a few mil. So just play around with it and see what works. Okay, magnetic latches are on. And I've adjusted them so they connect nicely. These plates here for the magnets, basically I've just used some PVA glue to glue them on, and a clamp like this. So a bit of PVA glue, clamp it for half an hour, hour or so. Obviously make sure they line up. So now I'm going to plug everything in. Okay, the last thing we need to do is get the HDMI cable and the audio cable plugged in. Here we go. The back panel on. Okay, there we have the completed cabinet. All I need to do is make sure the SD card's in, which you do through the bottom slot there. And I'll get it plugged in. That's a good sign. There we go, there's Emulation Station. Let's see if it works. Controls are working, obviously. Let's give R-Type 2 a try. Great. Sounds good. It's looking good. Escape button. That's it. That's the SuperGameCo mini arcade assembly. Thanks for watching. These are available at supergameco.com.au.